Hi, everyone. My name is Chen, and I'm president of Goldhouse and beyond proud advisory council member at Act to Change. If you think about the genesis of superheroes of our past, whether it's Captain America or Wonder Woman or my personal favorite, the X-Men, they were all born at a time when America needed heroes to instill hope, justice, and fairness, especially for those of us who may not have seen them on the big screen. Americans and really people around the world were dreaming of a better future as our country dealt with world wars, Great Depressions, and fights for civil rights. Today, with the rise of anti-API sentiment and general xenophobia, it's clear that hope and justice are still necessary. So it's obvious why we love our superhero movies. Recently, though, a great new organization published a survey that said that 42% of people in the US can't name one prominent Asian American. And by the way, the other two they named are A, not American, and B, have unfortunately been deceased for several decades. Which is why today's panel of not only film and TV superheroes, but real life superheroes is so important. And so with that, I'd like to welcome our esteemed panel. First and foremost, the great President Simu Liu. He is, of course, the Marvel Cinematic Universe's, the biggest cinematic universe in the world's newest superhero as Shang-Chi, which everyone has to see on September 3rd. Next is Uncle Randall Park, best known for his incredible comedic roles in the pioneering and groundbreaking Fresh Off the Boat and Always Be My Maybe, who is everyone's favorite diehard love interest. He also, of course, plays super FBI agent Jimmy Woo on the world's most watched show this year, WandaVision, which is excellent. And finally, last but never least, is our great friend, the Madam Olivia Munn, who of course needs no introduction because she's been in so many movies and shows. But I especially admire Olivia so much because she's done so much activism lately. And let's not forget, was Marvel's first superhero of Asian descent as X-Men's Psylocke. Welcome, everybody.
Thanks for having us.
So great to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's begin first with, and anyone can answer. I'd love for everyone to articulate, why does being API on screen at the highest scales of superhero matter? And almost more importantly, what does this new age, new breed of superhero look like?
Well, representation matters. I mean, that's something that we've been hearing so much. But, I know we can all speak to the fact that there are only, a handful of people who look like us that were on these big screens. It really is hard to imagine if things are possible for you. It's really hard for your dreams to really take shape and to grow if you don't even know they're possible. And, I remember, like the first ones for me were like, Sandra Oh, Na Wen, that was like, those are like really monumental moments for me to see these people on screen and not only playing stereotypical Asian roles and realizing that you really can be full 360-degree human beings on screen. So when we have places like Marvel that are so impactful and that people just love so much because it's such an escape for them to see Simu like on these big screens and telling a story that is enjoyed and loved by everyone, not just only Asians. It's something that is so impactful to our core that is really the whole definition of why representation matters.
Absolutely. Seeing is becoming, as it were, right? Simu, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I have a pretty personal take on this. When I was struggling as an actor in like 2013, 2014, I just kind of told my parents that I wasn't going to be an accountant anymore, and they were like, "We're never speaking to you again." I had a number of odd jobs that kind of kept me financially afloat, and one of them was actually playing Spider-Man for kids' birthday parties, and I would like drive to the place in like my tights. I would put the cowl or the mask on, knock on the door and be like, "Hey kids," and I would do all the poses and everything. And I remember like my instructions were very, very clear. Under no circumstances was I to take off the mask, because the moment that kids saw my face and they saw that I was not white, I was Asian, the entire illusion or the believability of that superhero experience would be shattered. So I think that that always kind of stayed with me throughout my career, because, like a lot of people, I think I grew up believing in the power of superheroes. I believed in, I grew up watching these like big battles between good and evil, and just looked up to all of the on-screen heroes that we saw, whether it was Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, or like even like I remember I watched like the original Ang Lee Hulk like like 12 times, played by Eric Bana. Like even those OG superheroes just played such a profound impact on my life, and I found them so aspirational that it really sucked not knowing that I could never fill those shoes until now.
Until now, for sure. And there's no mask on that first poster for Shang-Chi either. So there you go.
He doesn't have a mask. It's all him, which is both amazing and also very tiring when you're doing the action sequences.
There's no hiding behind masks in Shang-Chi. Yeah.
But Simu, you can do a lot of your stunts. I mean, I know you've got stunt guys, but you can do a lot of that stuff, which does make it difficult because but that makes it difficult because especially like when I did all of my own stunts in X-Men, and it is more, it's exhausting because, you're doing it yourself, but it does add to the authenticity of the movie more because they can really use your face for all of that stuff.
It's one of those things that sounds so good, and then you're like, it's like in practice, you're like, oh, I have to do that too, and it's like when you're charting out this one character's progression over the course of the movie, you're like, oh, he's just getting in fights constantly. Like, couldn't one of those have been a non-violent de-escalation? I don't know. I'm tired.
But to the point of being able to show your face on it, like, when you realize that, the more that you can have your face, like Simu, your face on, the more impactful it will be, because for so long, like you knew your face is a commodity, you put on that mask instead, so now it's really great that you can get out there and do those stunts along with also have your face.
Absolutely.
You can have a face and flip.
I can have a face. Yes.
I mean, the thing that like is so cool about superheroes to me, I mean, the powers and all that is great. That's fun. But I think we all really identify with the kind of the humanity, the struggle, or the place where these heroes are from a human perspective, like the struggles they have to endure before they embrace those powers or find those powers, and I think that's what we all can identify. I think, like Simu said, it's very, superheroes are aspirational, so for like an Asian kid to see Simu on the screen and to identify with those struggles, and the human stuff is like, and then to see him kick ass and to see him like be good, like for the greater good. I think that's like really, really important, but not just for Asian kids to see that, but for all kids to see that and to want to put themselves in Simu's shoes. Like that's very powerful.
Yeah.
Randall, let's go down that path, because it's not good enough for us just to be great in physical might, right? It's also important for us to be good on the inside. And I feel like also there's this lesson of every superhero's superpower is actually really just a magical manifestation of their struggle internally and or that human strength they're trying to discover. And I would argue one of, if not your greatest strength, both as a human being, but also inexplicably what every character you play is your goodness. And your goodness that's not meek or soft or anything like that, but it feels very strong and sincere. And I'm wondering, both on screen, but then also in real life, how do you maintain your goodness? Especially because, sad to say, it's increasingly rare these days among people.
Oh, yeah. You don't know me that well. I'm a horrible person.
We all are, don't worry. Blame the pandemic.
I saw Randall Park push a kid at Trader Joe's the other day.
I did.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was intense.
It was,
had a whole
yeah. That was, that was really fun for me to do.
For the record, children, we are joking.
We're joking. We are joking. No, I think for me, I don't think about it too much, really, in terms of myself. I just kind of try to. I just pursue fun, and fun for me is like being around good people and being good to those people and being good to people, because it's fun, because when you're good to people, they give you goodness back. Generally, it's just like how it works. It's physics, But I don't think about it. But I do think that, well, as far as Jimmy Woo, I think, a lot of people say he's not a superhero, and he isn't in the traditional sense. But I like to look at him as like a superhero, and his power is like kindness and sincerity,
Yeah.
And I hope that kids when they see that they also want to be like, oh, I want to be like Jimmy Woo too,
You threw a couple of punches in there too. Like you did a little thingy thing.
That was CGI.
CGI dismissed. I actually, you bring up a really important point. I think, Olivia, I've gotten to know a little bit more through our activism work, and something that I've been just awestruck on Olivia is everyone talks about doing the work, but when you're literally texting victims to get their GoFundMe's up, or getting them, pepper spray, or trying to console them with mental health, you're at a different level. And that's indeed what Olivia has done. I'm honestly still shocked that Olivia is like texting all these victims constantly, because it's taxing, and you want to deliver. And so Olivia, across your multi-hyphenate life, actress, activist, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and so forth, how do you maintain hope? And then even on set, you've been very vocal, right, about certain things.
Yeah. Well, it's really easy to maintain hope right now. I'll say that again, so you guys did. It's really easy to maintain hope right now because of the massive amount of support that we have from other, the Asian American group chats that we're in now, and being able to reach out to others and be able to talk, and everyone standing up for each other, and then the alliances that are going on around the world, and other cultures, other countries that are trying to support us and trying to help us stop Asian hate. That is the thing that brings me hope, because it's really tough when it happens and we're screaming into an echo chamber. And then later on, everyone's like, oh, wait, we didn't know. And I think that's what happens when you're part of a marginalized group. Our pain just stays centralized to us. And it's, and it has been, there's a lot of times in my life and my career where you just feel beaten down and feel like there's going to be an extra target on me because I am a minority. It is the unspoken rule that people don't want to believe in, because you can't really map it out. You can't exactly say it, but it's part of the white supremacy that has ruled over our country and our society for so long. And so we're easier targets. And then people want to just, I felt it myself. You feel that the hate more, or discrimination more, or when you want to speak up on set about something, you're seen as more of a nuisance, or you're creating more of a problem. And so I'm constantly having to think about those things. Before I go to a producer and talk about a scene that I might think is inappropriate, I have to think of 5 different ways to say it before I even say it. And I know that Simu and Randall feel the same, because, you're like, okay, how do I say this so that, they don't get offended, so that they know what I'm talking about, so that we actually create change and we make it better. So that's really been tough, because I know that even if we have a sense of unity with each other, we have been fighting these individual fights on our own. But now we have such a huge support system with each other that it does create so much hope that things are getting better. And also, what happened with my friend Sam and his mother, there was so much hope, because when we reached out to social media and asked them to help us find this assailant who attacked his mother, within less than 24 hours, they had found the guy. And people want to talk about how negative social media is and the internet is. But, there are some really great positive parts of it. And one of those is that, they helped us find this guy. So there's a lot of hope, I think.
I love that so much. It reminds me of what Fred Rogers or Mr. Rogers said about his mother when they used to watch the news, and it's all salacity, like car crashes, all that. And he said his mother would say, look for the helpers. And it's exactly what you said. What if social media were this positive weapon? Speaking of social media and collectives that are unifying, like subtle Asian traits and so forth, the thing that I've been most impressed by with Simu is not just being on Canada's most watched show ever, not just about to be the biggest superhero and star in the world, and the most successful film that we'll ever
my
see.
God.
But no pressure. But is that Simu's consistently used this platform in a thoughtful way, and that can be difficult to manage. So, like Simu, as this superhero, but also as a real life superhero, how do you think about balancing both? Because you have so much weight on your Atlas shoulders.
First of all, I wish you could be my hype man like just every day. That would be wonderful. If every time I saw my parents, I could just bring you along. I think they might actually be proud of what I was doing. No, look, I've been fortunate enough to have built a career playing these Asian roles that speak to some degree some sort of diasporic experience, whether it's playing Jung on 5 seasons of Kim's Convenience, or this next amazing role / journey that I'm on. As much as you want to talk about, or I don't care if you believe or don't believe in determinism or fate or something, but it really just feels like the universe kind of put me in a position, and all I had to do was say yes. I mean, from day one on Kim's Convenience, we were being asked, how does it feel to be a minority on TV? How does it feel to be, the Asian family? And in the beginning, I think, first of all, I was a lot younger, and second, I felt a lot more alone because I didn't know people like Olivia and Randall. I maybe shied away from those questions. But then as time went on, and I kind of watched the world responding to the show, and also had the opportunity to kind of travel around and speak to students in colleges and Asian American student unions and whatnot. I started to really kind of I felt the heartbeat of Asian America, and certainly Asian Canada too. And it's just, I kind of felt this general malaise about the way that people were being treated, and just this like lack of somebody, some sort of figure, just to tell them that it was okay to stand up tall and take up space, and to belong. And it's something that like we as a community have struggled with for so long, is taking up space. And so, the more I kind of felt that around me, the more I was like, I know what I have to do, and I have to make sure that these people know, if it comes from me, fine. And it's going to come from people like Olivia and Randall too. But we need to be those voices that let people know that despite all of what is happening right now, despite people who are, you know, accosting Asian Americans, Asian people on the street, telling them that they don't belong, to go back, that they are responsible for the coronavirus, that we have an equal and opposing force that tells them, no, you stand strong, you belong right where you are, and you're worthy. So that's honestly been kind of the driving force behind how I choose to conduct myself on social media. And who knows, that'll change. We're all still growing and evolving, and I'll find new and hopefully better ways to do that. But I think the core of that will always be the same.
I love that. I especially love the invocation of Newtonian's third law. Science does not escape us. Yay. Final piece is Act to Change, of course, is the leading nonprofit focusing on ending bullying against API youth. And while delving into the world of superheroes, I think sometimes can be considered fantasy, I think we realize also that fantasy also provides self-care, especially for kids that might be struggling or in places where they don't have access to people like you, or even real life heroes. And so I'd like to close out with this question. What would you tell your middle school self, the angsty, whatever it was, 13 to 15-year-old, if he, she, or they were joining us today and looking up to you to be their hero? What would you tell them? And anyone can start.
I guess since we were just talking about this, I'll go. I would say this: don't let anybody tell you that you don't belong exactly where you are. I would say you being here is the result of either, whether it was your parents or your grandparents, your great great grandparents, an incredible journey that they undertook, risking everything, in order to build a new life for your family and to start a new journey. And that's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to take immense pride in. That is your Asian American story, and it's precious, and it's worth protecting. It's worth fighting for, and it's worth being proud of.
Beautiful. Olivia, what do you think?
I think I would say that, being bullied feels powerless because you are powerless over what other people say about you, but you are powerful in how you respond. And if you choose to respond with dignity and kindness, then you can always lay your head down at night feeling good about yourself. Now, that doesn't mean that's always going to be easy, but when you do have a strong sense of self and you know the truth about who you are, that is what will carry you through the tough times.
I love that. It's a great segue actually to Randall, who I think manifests this, or apparently not in Trader Joe's. Go ahead, Randall.
Wait, this is to my middle school self?
Your middle school self 5 years ago, what would you, or 10 years ago, what would you? Math,
well,
hard.
I mean, my middle school self was, I mean, I was definitely an anxious kid. I think I would tell myself that failing and making mistakes and being an outsider, yeah, it may suck in the moment, but it's a great gift. All of that stuff is a great gift. And losing is a great gift. It gives you the opportunity to learn and grow, and it'll make you a great person down the road if you can, endure it and grow from it. So it's okay to not feel like you belong, and just, you will find your people, Yeah.
And I have to say that is the like, what all of the struggles that I have faced in my life, like especially growing up and being bullied and being the other and never really fitting in, it really did help when I got into Hollywood, and you go into a big room and you don't know anybody, and you feel like the other, or you're on set and you feel like the other. Now, does that mean that, like, in growing up, I always struggled? There was times where it when I had success, but even in that success, I was being bullied because of that success. And there was always like, and I feel like all those struggles, whether they come when you expect it, because, things are down, or when you least expect it because you think that you're riding on a high, and Simu's going to experience that soon too. It's like, that's just what happens. You feel like you've been doing all that are good. It's hard when you feel like you've been doing the right things and you start to make some successes in your life, whether personal or professional, and all of a sudden something or someone wants to come and take you down.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I'm going through it. Yeah, definitely have seen it.
Yeah. And you avoid those things. Like Randall says, it does make you stronger. You have to figure out a way to get through it, because those lessons and those pathways in your brain of when you figure out, how did I get through that will happen in your life later, because tough times will never leave your life. We can't escape that. But the one thing in life, there's two things in life we can never escape, which is great joy and great sadness. So learn to experience both in a healthy way.
This is good. I feel like we should be paying y'all for therapy. But no, in all sincerity, thank y'all so much for being here. As we all know, it's AAPI, but it's also Mental Health Awareness Month, and it's also today Anti-Bullying Day. So as great multi-hyphenates, artistically, commercially, and so forth, but also just multi-hyphenates as people, thank you for creating this space and being able to be here with Act to Change.